Welcome, I'm Dr. Lynette Wiest, and welcome to Wisdom's Peaceful Harmony. In this video, I'm going to talk about wisdom, and I'm going to first talk about a bit of an introduction to wisdom, and then I'm going to talk about the difference between what the ego thinks is wisdom and what wisdom truly is. In each of us, there are many forms of wisdom. Wisdom impacts our minds, our thoughts, our emotions, and our intuitions. It opens our minds and our hearts and our senses to reveal the depth of who we really are, how we are able to love each other. Wisdom creates the ability for us to be able to see far beyond what appeared to be troubled times and spaces. And by joining all forms of wisdom, both within each of us and between each of us, harmony is created. And this harmony nurtures peace within each heart, within each relationship, within each community, and potentially all over the world. And so what is harmony? Well, or what is wisdom? Well, we know wisdom when we see ourselves as a part of the whole, as a part of all of life's fabrics joined together as the revelation of one fabric. A Sanskrit word for the word wisdom is the word Prajna. And so this is, quote, the mental function which enables one to perceive life without error and to distinguish between what is true and what is false. And then later it says, this is the most refined and enlightened wisdom, distinct from ordinary human intelligence. End quote. And so the ego or the mind alone, it does not have wisdom. Our minds, our egos, they collect facts, they collect ideas, and they collect theories. And this information is limited by the context and the paradigm of the mind or the ego's perception. It's limited by your frame of reference. It's limited by what you already know. When you learn something, you put it into the frame of what you already know. And that's very limiting. The ego, it sees each life as separate and not as joined or not as interdependent. The ego's goal is survival, and so it perceives itself as a separate entity from what it needs in order to survive. Thus, the ego believes that survival requires acquisition. And this is a good thing. This is necessary because if the ego's goal is to survive physically and it sees food, it believes it needs to acquire that food, and that's a good thing. It's very useful. So the ego has some knowledge, but it's very limited. It's not wisdom. And so the ego then it perceives that its information is correct. It perceives that it has all the information. It doesn't understand its limits. Now, wisdom provides an understanding to go beyond the limits of what is within the ego's perception. So the ego's only knowledge of the world beyond itself is in its ability to trust wisdom. It requires trust. Wisdom then sees all as part of the whole, all coming together as this whole fabric, all as joined together as one fabric. And wisdom then is able to reveal the nonlinear in the linear. So it reveals the fabric by showing us each of the parts. We see each of the parts, and wisdom allows us to also see the fabric of how they are all joined together, how they are all interdependent. It's the divine in what is created. Wisdom allows the understanding that our existence is the manifestation of our togetherness. And our togetherness, the quality of it, creates our existence. The wisdom of love shines light on the greatest context, the greatest frame of reference. To experience this context is to override ego's limited logic with love's wisdom. Ego's logic is one little piece, but it's not the whole thing. This requires each of us to demand that our brain focus on love and focus on possibility and not focus on fear or hate or pessimism. This wisdom knows that peace is possible no matter the ego's perception of problems. It is our responsibility to let love guide us rather than using ego's logic as our guide. That's not a dream, it's a responsibility. Love's wisdom is more available and more powerful than any problem. It has always been with us, creating in and through our lives. It is the reason that we made it this far. And when we consciously realize this wisdom, then we more joyfully and confidently and intentionally create the manifestations of our lives that we desire to see. We're free from judgment and free from resentment and free from disgust and free from any other aggressive attitude that we have towards ourselves or towards others. Wisdom then is given unlimited power in our minds. And so know that the harmony of all of nature's wisdoms is the global song of peace. If this information has been useful for you, and if you would like to receive further notifications about future videos, please press the subscribe button. It is free. Welcome.